Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Sonny Edwards versus Galal Yafai in Birmingham, as well as the undercard. That's Gavin, Gwynne, Cameron, Vuong, and more. But before we get into that,
are you looking at the camera now? Can you actually see the camera?
I think so. I think I'm looking at it.
Are we going to talk about it?
We can do, yeah. There's
what happened?
A lot of rumours going around. Some people said I want to be like Gavin. Some people saying I asked the wrong question.
That's probably what happened.
I guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never know.
Should we get on with it?
Yeah, well, what I think we should do, because not that we record these episodes back to back, but on the next one we'll just come up with some more reasons.
Okay.
So if you want to know the actual reason, watch our next episode. There you get that.
Oh,
viewer attention, all that.
Look at that.
But all of that out of the way, straight into the business end of it. Galal Yafai. Wow. He was pretty damn good, wasn't he?
Very good. It was a statement performance from him, but I need to stop cursing these fights, I think, because every time I say, this might be one of the best fights you'll watch all year, it just turns into the complete opposite.
One-sided smash up, yeah.
But I was shocked. As soon as you've seen what Sonny said at the end of the second round, personally I would have just pulled him out after that, but I can see why they want to keep him in. But if your head's not in there, then it's a dangerous place to be in the ring, innit?
Yeah, it is. And when he said it, I was thinking there's no way he's just said that. And yeah, you look at it, Yafai did not mess about, did he? He had probably one of the quickest walkouts you've seen this year. What was it, 20 seconds, if that? Got straight in the ring, no messing about. And for two boys who know each other quite well, I thought it would have been a lot more of a closer fight. But fair play to Yafai. He was world class, and he's just announced himself now on the global scene. And hopefully now in 2025 he can change that interim belt into the full version of that WBC.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I think, a lot of people are now saying, sort of in retrospect, they're looking back at it and different, going, oh, well, Sonny wasn't really in it. Is it that impressive a victory? But really, he did exactly what Bam did against Sonny, which is cut off the ring. And if you cut off the ring effectively against Sonny, he's not able to fight on the back foot in the same way, and you're able to put that kind of pressure on him. And it was relentless. We'll obviously get on to another fight similar to that, relentless pressure, but it was relentless. He just didn't leave Sonny alone. Never left him alone, and there wasn't that much coming back at him, really.
He didn't have the legs, I don't think. And I think that was one of the concerns in the corner, that his coach knew that he hasn't got the legs in him anymore, and he was just saying to him, listen, when you're on the ropes, counter jab him and all that. And I think, as much as he is Sonny Edwards, for me, is, over the years, has carried that division for British boxing. And you look at it now, and after the fight he said, that's me done, I can actually believe it. And I think you can see that at the end he was devastated, that he thought he still had it, but he didn't. And it was a passing of the torch moment, really, on Saturday night. And what I liked was that he bowed to him afterwards, and he was like, fair play, mate, you're now the king of this division here in Britain, go and win this world title, go and unify. And for me now, Yafai, when you talk about cementing yourself and a dominant performance, it doesn't get any better than that. He didn't lose a round, and he just went full throttle, and mental.
I don't even think it's a case of Sonny Edwards not still having it. It's still a really good Sonny Edwards. I think it's just, like you said, his head just wasn't in there.
The last performance from Sonny in his last fight was sharp.
He looked really good against Kuriel, with the cut as well, to get a win as conclusive as that. But I think it's just the outside factors, and he started training fighters now and managing fighters. I think he's realised he doesn't need to make his money through fighting, and he can make his money elsewhere, commentating as well. He's really good at commentating and at analysing fights, so I think that's where we'll see him now in the future.
Do you think that cut might have played a factor from his last fight that he had? Maybe that was in the back of his mind, that
I just
concern of that opening back up.
Having watched his press conference, it just seemed like rather than it being one big moment, it was kind of an accumulation of factors that have led to his retirement. An accumulation of injuries, wanting to spend time with his children, not necessarily needing to fight financially, and all those things add up together to make, why would you? It's not. There's a lot of people that fight for very different reasons: pride, money. It's all they've ever known, etc., etc. But if you've got the money, you've got the pride, what is there left to get in there and risk your life for? Nothing, really.
And you've got stuff outside the ring, like Ben said. He's managing fighters now, and he's probably going to enjoy that a lot more, and he can make more money there, perhaps, by taking them to the next level. And you can't blame him. And do I think that's the last time we see Sonny Edwards? maybe not. Maybe he could come back.
Last time in the ring, but I can guarantee it's not the last time we see.
You'll see him plenty, but
but in the ring,
I don't.
Do you reckon you see him again? Because surely
I don't think he needs the fight to get. Like, what else is it for him to do? He won a world title. Like, the fight against Bam was a massive fight. I think if he'd won that fight against Bam, like, he'd be looking at his career with a different perspective at the minute, and like looking to sort of carry on dominating. But he knows Bam was the better fighter. He knows Yafai was better on Saturday, and I just don't think in his mind he doesn't need to fight anymore.
Yeah, I think it depends as well, like kind of what I was watching recently, Gloves Are Off that they did with a load of the super middleweight champs. So it was Calzaghe, Roy Jones Jr., names like that. And
that was on Amazon, wasn't it?
No, I think it was just on. I can't remember what it was on, but with and Chris Eubank and stuff. And it was interesting. They all had what they kind of saw as their goal in boxing. So Roy Jones Jr. lost or got disqualified from one of his fights, so he couldn't go unbeaten. So then his goal was going up to heavyweight and doing that. So that was he was the first to do that. And for Chris Eubank, it was just about being world champion and just having that title. And so I think for Sonny, it's like after he lost to Bam, he now can't say he's the best in the division ever. So I think he's kind of just saying, well, do you know what? I've been a world title. I'm happy with that. What more do you need?
Yeah, it's not as if like you can't go any further than that, can you really? But the only thing he ever missed out on in his career was the Olympics, and that's only because Yafai was chosen ahead of him. But
yeah, I think everyone's talking about that kind of second round and saying, you know, I don't really want to be here, and these sorts of things, and whether or not he should have been pulled down. I genuinely don't think he should have been. I think what Sonny said out loud is probably what a hell of a lot of fighters have thought, and it's the coach's job to get them out of that place. The fact that Sonny's the kind of guy that will just come out and say it is a different matter, but it's a coach's job that when your fighter's in a tough place, you get them through that, or else there's no point having a coach if you didn't need them to do that. So I think the coach was right to give him more rounds. You know, the next round say, come on, you know, you're doing well in this round, let's keep going, rather than just saying, oh, cool, I'm pulling you there.
I think it's the sake, they knew we had more in the tank as well, he just wasn't showing it. But like, the only thing that worries me is like, it's a dangerous sport, and when your head is not in there, like, if something was to happen, you got seriously hurt, alongside him saying that, then it, like, you take a different perspective on it then.
Yeah, but how many people do you think have thought that at some point in a fight, and then gone on?
You got to give him credit,
and then gone on to win it. So, you know, you kind of...
I think it felt like it got to the point where he was just going back every round, and he seemed to have a look on his face, so let's just get to the end of this fight and I'm done. Like that, I think that was just his main sort of concern more.
Yeah, well, he said that after the fight, that even before the fight, he knew that tonight, or Saturday night, was the last time he would fight. And when you have that in the back of your mind, and when it's not really going your way, you're not getting that send-off you wanted, you're going to be looking at ways that you could possibly get out, but I've never seen that before in a ring. I've never seen a boxer say, to be honest with you, or whatever he said, to be real, I don't want to be here. It's mental.
Yeah, I've never heard it.
I've never, but the corner probably did it well in the response that he gave, and he's saying, well, you're 2 rounds in, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
You lost those 2 rounds, but you can still do it. You know, your legs you haven't got the same legs that you had in your last fight, but you can still do it when you're on the back rope. And when people are criticising that, then I don't know. I think at least they didn't throw the towel in, and people are saying now that the referee stoppage was wrong. For me personally, I thought that was the best decision that could have happened in that fight. Because if that referee didn't stop it, then the towel would have been thrown in, and then everyone would be arguing then, oh, why didn't he pull him out after that second round? But no, I think you're fine now. You have to get him now. You have to talk about how good that performance was. Everyone's talking about what Sonny Edwards was doing. Yafai put in a world-class performance where a lot of people were saying fight week that this is too soon for Yafai. It's too soon.
Who was saying that?
Wait, didn't we both predict?
I predicted Yafai.
No, you never.
I did. I could prove it.
You predicted Sonny.
Right, everyone, go back. I did No, I predicted Yafai.
You definitely
predicted Sonny. Me and Ben predicted Yafai.
No, you were the only one who predicted Yafai.
I was. You predicted Sonny. You predicted Yafai. And I'm going
to have to stand up for myself. Standard.
I'll let you get up the receipts in the meantime. But
he goes to Japan now, surely next year.
Yeah, Kenshiro Taraji, WBC champ. He's the interim.
Such a good fight.
I think it's 21-1. Taraji. So he's by all means a great fighter, but beatable. And what you've got to remember as well is Yafai's 31. He's 3 years to Sonny's senior. He's older than Sonny Edwards is, even though Edwards is retiring
and got a lot more experience.
So people talk about the fact that he's only 9-0 now, inexperienced, but he needs to get moving if he wants to. You know, when you look at someone like Bam Rodriguez, who's 7 years younger than him and already multi-weight undisputed. So I think realistically for Yafai, he's going to want to get to Japan, get that world title, and what was your prediction, Harry?
Oh no, it's not loading.
Okay.
The Wi-Fi's not working.
Okay.
Yet, but I predicted that Yafai would win on points.
Absolutely not.
I did.
Absolutely
How
not.
much? How much, boys?
I'm broke. I can't afford it.
Oh yeah, you're a uni student, Ben.
If I could afford it, I would. Anyway.
I know for a fact that
You just said that as if I'm not doing the same course.
Yeah, you're not a uni student, mate. You're ancient.
But he's living in uni, so
All the interest from when you were born, you've got to be minted, haven't you? Well, 50 years of interest. Anyway,
what a diversion! What a diversion. We
We'll,
just had a little argument.
need to get the VAR
Our
check
first
on that
argument on the podcast.
Joe, I'll try and remember to put the clip in. I'm going to go for a Yafai points win.
Same.
I've
Home territory, home turf.
Mine with the what is it? The
That I said.
music of
Yeah.
you making yourself look silly.
Of course.
We'll see. Next up, the next fight I think to talk about. As much as the Conor Walker fight, Lewis Ritson was a great fight, I think the natural next talking point is Cameron Vuong, Gavin, Gwynne. And I finally feel like we can not be biased with this because I think this is a huge talking point that a lot of people are talking about. That he got robbed, didn't he? Really?
It's an absolute joke.
Disgrace.
Like, moments like that, you'd think, why take the sport seriously? Because,
it's frustrating.
And it is, the thing is, you can't even be annoyed at Vuong. Like, full credit to him for taking the fight. He stood in there with him for the 10 rounds. And, but what does he learn from just being gifted our win?
Yeah, nothing. 'Cause all that's going to happen is either he gets found out later on in his career, or he takes easier fights to then get to a point, and he's learned from that. But he still learns from the loss. He's just, so what if he's got a loss on his record?
Yeah, and that follows him to his next fight now. The questions being asked was, you should have lost that last one, and whether he fights Gavin a rematch, which probably should happen. But yeah, I just felt really obviously there's a bit of biasy there with Gwynne, but it's just because we've seen how hard he worked for that camp, and he did just deserve our win. He was the better fighter on the night. He won more of the rounds, and yeah, to lose, not only lose, but lose by a unanimous decision, where I think some of the scoring was what did he they had him
97-94 was 97-94 was Victor Loughlin's card, and it was
where
That's a surprise.
96-94, 96-95. So he didn't even get around.
Where are you scoring that?
And it's bad when Eddie Hearn doesn't. Well, he normally, when his fighter loses, he says, "Oh, I scored a draw."
Yeah,
it's bad when he says, "I thought Gav won."
Even Eddie had it 6-4, which means it was probably 7-3 or something.
I had it 7-3.
Yeah, so
I had it sort of somewhere between 7-3 and 6-4. I could there was a round or two I could see it either way.
Vuong done really well with the counter shots at certain times, but he was getting smothered so often. And it wasn't as if Gav was hurting him, I'm not saying that, but he was just landing so many shots and was applying so much pressure that he was winning the rounds, and I can't see how you could see any different.
Yeah, I think massive respect to Vuong, because people have questioned his tank in the past, particularly after the Fury fight, and in that 9th round he really laid out on the table.
The last two, to be fair to him, he went back to the corner at the end of the 8th, and they said, "This is very close, you need to get out there and win the last two." And to be fair to him, he put in a good performance.
He won at least one of those last two, I think he won the 9th round, and then that 10th round was reasonably close. But yeah, it's just it's a shame, like you say, because either we should be talking about right now, wow, fair play to Cameron Vuong, he beat Gavin Gwynne outright, great, which is, didn't happen, or we should be saying this fight was maybe too early for Vuong, but Gavin Gwynne's come back and looks great and can kick on now. So, but we can't really say either, because it
shows how much Gav's still got in the tank, and with him going to Gary, and like you said, just give him a new lease of life now in terms of his training, and I think we'll definitely see him in a few more fights, hopefully. Hopefully that hasn't knocked him so much as to think. But with some fighters, it would, when he's put all that effort into that fight camp. He's obviously, like you said, he's been away from his family or whatever for weeks on end, and like to just go up there, win the fight in most people's eyes. Like the only people that didn't have him win the fight was people in Cameron Vuong's corner, I think.
Yeah, I online I haven't seen a single person suggest they actually thought Vuong won. I think except
it's
Sam
bad
Jones.
when that's happened though.
Is it like in some fighters you just think, what is the point in putting myself through that?
Yeah. Do you know what I really hope happens? Because and then we'll be previewing it in our next episode. But Sam Noakes is fighting, and he was meant to be Matchroom accidentally leaked with a poster that they were looking to get him to fight Brinchik over in Saudi Arabia. So if he fights Brinchik, then he's going to have to vacate his belt, and there's a chance that they could make this rematch for the European title or for the Commonwealth title.
That's the logical
and
step.
Therefore, you then give Gavin not only the chance to right the wrong, but also the chance to, get a title with it. And then it seems like kind of everyone's won in that situation. Or Vuong can learn from that loss, we'll call it a loss, and win the rematch against Gavin, and then rightfully deserve a title because he's beaten a former European champ.
We've got the case here of like Josh Taylor and Jack Hatterall, really, that when the rematch comes around, which it should happen because I can't see Cameron Vuong moving on, when Gwynne, this is obviously me being a bit biased here, but when Gwynne wins the rematch and then he has his arm raised, there's a little bit there like, well, I should have had this done 6 months earlier because that's the worst thing about boxing is when the judges get it wrong. And for me now, we're journalist students, we want to ask questions. Why aren't we allowed to go to the judges after the fight and go, how did you score that? We can go to the promoters, ask them how they scored it. We can go to the fighters, to the coaches, how did they score it? But why can't we go to the British Boxing Board of Control and go, we need answers, we want to know what the judges were looking at, so us as fans, us as journalists can now look at the boxing fight now and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think I don't know if that would actually help, because it can be the same in some other sports, and it's not the same in some other sports. And all that tends to happen, like in football, PGMOL just send a letter to the club going, oh, sorry, we got it wrong. What does that change? You've still lost. They can't change the result. It's going to
be a loss
in retrospect.
But
so I think
there needs to be answers.
But then people won't accept the answers. That's what people, they'll come out and say, we think Cameron Vuong won because he landed the more meaningful shots, let's say, and then everyone go, well, no, we didn't though. So we haven't got anywhere. All that's actually happened is just people now have a person and a name and a face that they can put all their hatred towards.
It's just the one thing that follows boxing constantly is bad judging and bad scoring.
Could you call it corrupt? Could it?
I just think
you can.
Like, I think there was just a sense of protecting a prospect.
Yeah.
In many ways.
That's 100% what it was.
I think there is also a sort of confirmation bias to it as well. When you look at a sort of 6-0 prospect, he's up and coming, he's touted to be one of the best, he's young, he's really exciting, and someone like Gavin who's lost 3 times, got a draw on the record, you're sort of thinking, well, this guy is probably, this guy's up and coming, he's going to win this, and then you're watching it and you're almost looking for the reasons that Vuong's going to win it as a judge. And I know that that's not how they're supposed to think, and I'm sure they try not to, but there has to be an element of that. You can't not be biased by accident. Everyone's got bias to a degree.
Yeah, I don't want it to come across either like we're just saying that Vuong was terrible. Like he was decent.
He was decent. It was a good fight.
He just didn't do enough to win the fight.
Yeah.
It's nothing against. That's the annoying bit now. It's nothing against Vuong because I quite like Vuong.
Yeah.
But in the fight, you did not win that.
No.
And I think with his reaction afterwards, he was giving. Did he give it the big one, or was it a bit? Because
they didn't show anything afterwards, did they?
Nah,
they
not
didn't
really.
do no interviews.
It looked like
afterwards.
all the cameras were on Gwynne, and it's just gutting because, like you said, how can you get yourself back in that gym and get yourself more motivated without having that sort of rematch now? Because Vuong, he can't move on after that, surely, because that's going to stain his career. Yeah, you took that test early on, but you didn't win that.
Yeah, I think
if Sam Jones was smart and Eddie Hearn, get the rematch with him just to prove everyone that you won that fight clean.
I don't think they'll want our rematch.
They have to. They have to, because then we have a situation where we've got Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron.
Yeah,
they're going to go diversion.
But like you look at that,
but there's 1,000 fighters in every division, so you don't have to fight them.
But it stains their career though. And everyone's going to remember that one fight where you were meant to be tested. Yeah. You lost that fight, but you got the decision.
Yeah, but you see fighters like
if you go another route, and win fights and win titles another route and ignore
True.
then it kind of overwrites it, and then you can't really complain at that. You don't have to take the fight. It's a courteous thing to do.
Am I just being a little bit biased? I want to see Gavin Gwynne back on a
not
massive DAZN show.
It's
That's
not like
maybe my bias.
It's not like you to be biased. Let's
No,
be real.
definitely not.
That's not something
I think Gav will get another fight somewhere,
He
but
deserves
whether
it,
it's that
yeah.
rematch is another thing.
He's a true warrior, and you know what you get with Gavin Gwynne. He's just going to keep on coming at you, no matter how many shots he gets hit with. He's going to keep on coming forward, taking the punishment, but also giving it out. And yeah, he's one of the just gutted for him. For him. I think that's what we can just say about it. And you know, obviously, wish him a speedy recovery now. His eyes look pretty bad after that fight.
Yeah, me and him will be twinning after this. Like, I've seen the picture, and it is
pretty
nasty.
bad.
And it was the other eye compared to the one for the Chamberlain fight.
I thought you were going to compare your eye then to him.
No.
But
At
least you know how he felt.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, maybe other than the fact that I didn't get punched in the face, but or did I? Let us know down in the comments what you guys think on that situation. We'll move on from that because I think we could sit here for an hour.
Yeah.
Jump back to our first episode, it was an hour 30 or whatever, but we're not going to do that. Conor Walker, Lewis Ritson, really great fight, I thought. Lewis Ritson tested Walker, kept him honest, but realistically Walker was dominant in that one, I think.
Yeah, I think, well, I went for Walker by stoppage in my prediction.
Yeah,
but
same.
To be fair, Ritson held out. I think it was any point where Walker was in massive trouble, but like you said, he was tested. He had to sort of show his worth, and that welterweight division's starting to stack up quite a bit now around that British.
Absolutely. I think he showed his chin in that
level.
one, Walker.
Yeah.
It was what he had to show, because Lewis Ritson caught him with some really, really clean shots.
Yeah.
And he was able to shrug him off and, keep doing the work.
He was always at a distance, though, when he Ritson, but fair play to him. He showed a lot of heart in that, didn't he?
I think
a lot of toughness. And
I think that looks likely his last fight as well, possibly.
Well, I saw.
To be fair, he's had a brilliant career. Won the British title outright, didn't he? So.
Well, he won that British title in remarkable fashion, didn't he? What was it, 4 minutes, if that? So, and he was quite emotional post-fight as well. I saw an interview or a clip that he was crying or had tears in his eyes, but he put up a good performance, and Conor Walker can take a lot from that fight. Obviously got the win, but he learnt a lot about himself as well, and it was a great atmosphere as well when he walked out. But you look at that division now, what are the sort of names that you can fight? What are some of the big names that Conor Walker...
in this country, you've got Elliot Wales, Commonwealth silver title, Echo Esserman, Harry Scarf's a Commonwealth champ.
There's so many.
You can make
so many names. Yeah, Conor Benn making a comeback at welterweight
it's stacking up quite nicely in that welterweight.
Absolutely, yeah. It is, seriously, Michael McKinson as well. There's so many.
Yes, I like him.
Fighters, so many big names.
Hang on, didn't McKinson lose to Mbenge though?
Yeah.
Walker strikes, who was the type of person that's willing to get in there with anyone as well. So
he showed that in his last fight, didn't he?
Let's be real. Esserman versus Walker would be an unbelievable fight because they're both going to constantly walk forward, and they're both going to eat a few shots, and they're both going to hit a few big shots, and it's just going to be who can. Because Conor Walker doesn't have an off switch, does he?
No.
He doesn't have I'm going to just take a step back. I'm winning this fight. I'll take these last couple. He just keeps coming forward, and he ate some serious shots. And against on another day, one of those shots could have caused him a problem, but it didn't on this day. I think that would be a great fight, just for the fans. It doesn't necessarily make sense from a sort of either one's career point of view, but it's a great
5v5.
fight. Yeah, it's another one.
5v5. There we go.
Could be a talking one for that if we're going to get another one. Elsewhere on the card, let's have a look. Kieran, Conway, Ryan Kelly, Commonwealth. It's one we touted again to be a really great fight, and it was a good fight. I don't think it was super. It was a little bit tentative, a little bit kind of slower than I thought it maybe would be.
He had a bit of ring rust, didn't he?
But it was a good fight in the end, and Conway done well to having lost the first couple rounds. I thought come back and win it in the end.
Split decision as well, man. So you got to give Ryan
Kelly
back
and forth between the two of them there. But Ryan Kelly, he's proven with the fight against Jerome Overton, who was obviously waiting for his British title shot. He managed to get a draw with him. So whether Conway and Warburton maybe is a possible option before that British title, or whether them two. Obviously, they're waiting to see what happens with Brad Pauls and Bentley.
He's got his eyes on that.
So whether obviously they move on past British level, and then you have Conway and Warburton fight for British title, is again in terms of domestically in Britain, there's plenty of great options out there.
Yeah, I think whoever wins out the Brad Pauls Bentley fight,
they move on.
Is going to move on past, because there's basically every single title below a world title is on the line for that fight. They've just chucked everything they can at it. So realistically, whoever wins that's on for a world title shot, or
and then whoever
world
loses
level.
that, then Kieran Conway could potentially.
Yeah,
fight.
possibly. So I think
like
it makes sense. It's a great division, the middleweight division, though, as well.
100%.
Everywhere you look on it, you're just like, oh well, he's a great fighter. He's a good fighter.
But I think every division though in British boxing's great.
Yeah,
Heavyweight, cruiserweight, light heavy. Oh, it's brilliant.
There's a lot of great
There's
divisions.
a lot of competitive fights to be made, and I think Saturday night shown that the main card was very good, very competitive. We had 4 fights that were very, very strong, and then you look at the prelims that we had on YouTube. James Todd, fair play to you, mate.
That was fight of the night.
That was
Aaron
fight of the
Bowen,
weekend for me.
Beautiful shot to
performance.
drop Aaron, and then a phenomenal body shot to finish off James. It was like
Incredible.
Yeah, really great.
And it was free, which was even better.
That is always better. Yeah, for me and you
better.
particularly, that's our thing. Callum Smith against Carlos Galvan. Galvan was a bit rubbish. Callum Smith was all right, wasn't he?
Very good. And now he can potentially look at, when you look at the fights, Buatsi.
I was going to say, I don't think you like ever seen such a disparity between 2 fights in like the space of a year to like fight Better Biev and then
the
have
biggest
this
fight in his division. Yeah.
Like, what was it, the first fight of the night?
Against
it's
Galvan.
just like
It's mental.
such a switch up in like not even the space of 12 months. But
4:30 on a Saturday afternoon.
I think he
and
said
Callum
it was
Smith's
just-
fighting.
I think he just said it was just a tune-up fight, and he's got something obviously lined up in early next year. So be interesting to see where he's going. He fought the light heavyweight, and so don't know who he'll be aiming for, but he's obviously got his eyes set somewhere in terms of something.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I don't think he's fighting. It doesn't look like he's fighting on that February card.
No.
Which hasn't been complete yet. I think
Matchroom have got a show at the end of March, haven't they?
Yeah, I think Zach Parker's fighting Willie Hutchinson recently announced on the Chisora undercard.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on at that level, and Buatsi seems like a tough test at this point.
But what I like
even
about
for
that,
Callum Smith.
for that fight though, that could be for a world title, because apparently the rumour is that Better Biev and Bivol have rematched in February 22nd. Those belts are going to fragment down the division now.
Yeah.
And they can go
possibly.
different ways, and it could be that way of Buatsi potentially getting a world title shot and Callum Smith coming back in it to be, what would that be then? A 3-time world champion? Would Callum Smith be if he won that fight? It could be 2 or 3.
But let's be real, the IBF are going to cock that up anyway. They're going to go,
they always do.
no, Bivol, you're not good enough to be the challenger for Better Biev, so we'll strip that about, and then eventually then all the belts will go, like we're seeing in the heavyweight division, isn't it? You've now got, it looks like Zhang and Kaya Bell fighting for the WBC interim, which then I think Anthony Joshua can possibly fight for, and then you've got whoever the hell is willing to fight Bacoli.
And then you look at that. Yeah, exactly. Where's Bacoli in there?
He's
deserves a world title.
He's going to end up fighting like someone like 30th ranked or something, because just everyone down the list, he's going to be like, nah, I don't fancy it. Because Zhang said no, Kayobel said no. It's just going to be some like the 5th best heavyweight in Montenegro is going to be like, yeah, I'll have it, bud. And then
show me the money.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe that's one for a couple of weeks for the Fury Usyk preview. Elsewhere on this card, I'm trying to have a look. Is there anyone else? Any other fights?
Taylor Bevan,
of course. It was great, wasn't it?
Hand it over to Ben.
You looked very impressive. Really good. It was a body shot on it. Well, 2 body shots really that caused the issues. But yeah, he looked really good. And like the thing they were saying on commentary, which was most impressive, was when he knew he had him hurt, he didn't just rush. You could see he's really thinking about each shot. And sometimes, especially when you're in your pro debut, you want to make an impression, obviously, but I think he done it in all the right ways. Like, he didn't just rush him and finish him super quickly either. It was like really thoughtful performance. I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, it was he brought the amateur pace to a professional fight, in very much in the same way that Yafai did. He, from the first second, was really on it, and if you start hurting your opponent, then you do need to just kind of slowly pick him off, and that's what he's done. You can't ask for any more from I hate the word punch perfect, because no performance is ever actually punch perfect, but it's about as close to it as you get, doesn't it?
I like him now. I know this is me being a bit like, let's fast track him
you
straight
just
away.
like him now.
Tyler Bevan, Aaron Bowen. They did it at the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, and it was
And
great.
Are they going to do it that early in their career?
They just don't. It makes no sense.
I think
no
in terms
sense,
of the
but-
prospects on the card, like Hamza Udin, Suleiman as well, they all looked really good. I thought they looked all really
Hamza
impressive.
Udin got tested, man.
And even Bowen's fight, even though it was close, he got dropped. no, in terms of learning, you don't want to have too many fights like early in your career, but in terms of learning, you don't get many better.
Nah. When you watch these, I don't know if you say the same thing, because you watched a couple of the Matchroom boys fight on a top tier show, and I got Lely Buttigieg fought on a top tier show, and when those guys fight, you notice they're just that step up, aren't they? They are really.
I get what you mean.
Really
like when you're
good.
watching the card, like you think, oh, there's plenty of good fight, but you see them get in there, and you can just see the sort of, like you said, the difference in our level and this, like.
And it's just like kind of there's like an aura about them. They just
Yeah.
carry themselves so well, and like you say, I think all the guys, those bottom four you mentioned, Bevan, Udine, Bowen, Suleiman, all carried themselves with a real swagger, but also kind of backed it up. I mean, Bowen had a difficult fight, but everyone has difficult fights sometimes, and you've got to get through it. And James Todd has had a strange career, I think it's fair to say, but a respectable one in his own right. It's not like he's fighting some bum from South America who's never fought before.
No.
It's
It's easy to crumble under pressure like that as well, especially so early in your career. Like that shot that dropped him was a big shot, and like it would have been easy to sort of just go, oh, I'm in trouble, and sort of cover yourself up for the rest of the fight. But he more than matched him, I think, in the end, and obviously got the stoppage himself. So
it's a learning thing, isn't it? That's what these fights are about. Is each fight should give you something you learn.
yeah, how many fighters do we see go like 10, 11, 12 and 0 by fighting, just going round in circles with the same journeymen, and just they get nothing out of it, and they get to the point in their career where no one wants to pick them up for anything, even though they're undefeated, because they've not fought no one, they've not done nothing, not learned anything. So yeah, I think a fight like that is much better for your career, even though you don't want too many of them early in your career, because you don't want to get dropped as often.
Yeah, and you don't want to be
all that mileage on the clock, do you?
And you don't want to be picking out a former European champ when you're 6-0 as well. So
No.
it's that getting that balance, isn't it? It's a difficult balance to make, and that's what the these matchmakers earn their money on. So is that? I think that pretty much wraps up for what was a really great card. I thought up top to bottom, so much to talk about, and kicks off just a phenomenal run of boxing. It's so good from now until I saw someone tweet out complaining about UK boxing, because there's not that many UK events after we get the Wembley card. But I'm like, yeah, but you do have after that the Boxer and Monte Carlo, and then the week after that you've got a small, former undisputed heavyweight title fight rematch, and then you've
Johnny
got
Fisher as well,
the pound for pound best in the of course, yeah. And then you got the pound for pound best in the world fighting, a couple days later. What more do you want? What are you wanting from us? You want every single week we need world title fights. It's great, isn't it?
It is. And I put the message in last night, didn't I? Next week's boxing schedule, and 2 minutes later you're messaging me. You've just forgot probably the biggest night next weekend, and that's the Magnificent
You
Seven
forgot
card.
I mean, it's like
There's so much on though. You've got
this weekend is obscene.
It's ridiculous. This next 14 days is incredible.
Yeah, if we keep the preview episode coming out on Thursday under 45 minutes or 40 minutes even, we've done unbelievably well, because there's just so much to talk about. That Magnificent Seven, phenomenal. Top tier, phenomenal. GBM got a great card on. Liam Paro Hitchens over in Puerto Rico, unbelievable.
Kubrat Pulev's even fighting.
Yeah,
look at that.
You got Nielsen's card in York Hall on Friday night. It's
and
brilliant.
You've probably forgot something there as well.
I definitely have. So stick around for that. Check out our next episode. Subscribe now. We're just knocking on the door of 600. So subscribe now, so you get that one in your inbox. If you've waited this long, if you listened to 34 minutes of us waffling, you might as well click subscribe, because you're in for the long haul. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, all of that stuff, and we'll catch you all later in the week.
But punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.